Hey guys, this is Jeff, and I'm going to show you how to get the artwork ready for the 10-foot diameter by 36-inch tall circle trade show hanging sign. And so to start off with, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up the template in Photoshop. And this actually brings open the full-size template that you're going to use to design literally right on top of. Just keep the template as its own separate layer over here on the right-hand side, because when you're all done, you don't want to print out the template, so you want to either hide it or delete it all together and be left with your artwork. So a couple other things before we get started here is we want to make sure that the template opens up in CMYK mode. So I know that this is already in CMYK, it says up here in the top, but if for some reason it opens up, let's say it's in RGB or something other than CMYK, go ahead and go to Image and Mode, and make sure that CMYK color is selected. So once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the resolution is set at 125 dpi. This is already a full-size template here, and so we can check that by going to Image, Image Size, and you can see under Resolution here that it's already set at 125 dpi, which is correct. If it's something other than that, go ahead and switch it now, and that will be done correct. So at this point, what we can do is we can begin adding in our logos or what other design elements you wanted on this. This can be full color, full size, however you want it. Just keep in mind there is bleed, so on the very top and on the very bottom, if I zoom in here, you can see there's about an inch of bleed on the top and about an inch of bleed on the very bottom here. So as you start designing, make sure to keep any logos or text out of the bleed area, and I usually recommend staying at least a few inches away from the bleed line here. But if you have a background color that's a little bit different, let's say your background is red, then you want to actually go ahead and extend your background color all the way into the bleed, and just keep anything important like logos or text out of it. Okay, and so we'll just zoom back out here, and now we're ready to go ahead and add in the logo. So you can do that by just going to File and Place and browsing on your computer for your logo. And here's mine. It's an Adobe Illustrator file. And one thing to point out is that this is a vectored logo. So this is going to allow me to scale it and resize it so that's bigger without losing any resolution or it becoming pixelated. Now, I really encourage you to find your vectored logo and use that because you definitely don't want to resize, let's say, a smaller JPEG and have it become pixelated. You want it to look as sharp as possible. So check with your designer about that. Make sure you use a vectored image. So to scale this, what I usually do is I hold down Shift and then I grab a corner and I can just resize it here. So I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, right about here. And so then what I can do is I can just move it over, and we'll start on the left-hand side here. And remember, this is round, so this template represents going all the way around the outside of the hanging sign frame. And then I'll just right-click and just click Place. So here we go. Here's the logo positioned on the left-hand side, and I want to repeat it a couple times more. So I'm just going to go over to the logo layer, right click and go to duplicate layer, and I just use the move tool here, and then I can just slide that over, and I want to do it once more. So I'm going to go over to the one I just did, right click, duplicate layer, okay, and I'm going to move it over here again. So if I were doing this for real, I would actually spend a little bit more time resizing these to get them to look right, maybe put a little bit more space in between them. But this is just an example to give you an idea of how to do it. There's no set way of how many times a logo can go around. It can be as many as you want, just whatever looks good. Every logo is different. Some are taller, some are wider, so it really just depends. But this will give you a really good idea of how to get the artwork prepared using your particular template for your particular size hanging sign. And so from here, what you want to do is you want to press Control and plus if you're using a PC, or Command and plus if you're using a Mac. Zoom in until about 1 inch equals 1 inch in real life on the ruler bar here. So here's 186 inches, here's 187, and that's about 1 inch in real life on my screen. And then I use the navigator tool and I can just kind of comb around. And what we're looking for here is we're looking to make sure that the logo looks good, that it's not pixelated, and this will give you an opportunity to inspect it and make sure everything looks good. Once you've done that, you can zoom out, press Control and minus or Command and minus on a Mac. And at this point, what I usually recommend is having you save it, having you save the working layered file. In other words, the layered Photoshop file. And that's because if you need to make any changes now or anytime in the future, you can always go back to that file and go in and make any changes. You don't have to start all over again. Because at this point, what we're going to do is after you've saved that copy of the working layered file, is we're just going to go ahead and do that step we talked about earlier, which is just delete the template. So here we go. I just selected it, and I'm just going to drag it into the trash can. And now we're just left with our artboard and our design. And one final step. What we're going to do is we're going to flatten it. We're going to go to Layer, and then Flatten Image. That's going to do a couple things. It's just going to lock everything in place. And if you used any particular fonts on your computer, that means I won't have to have those fonts installed on my computer because it's already flattened and it won't matter anymore. And it's also going to make it a more manageable file to upload as well. So this is actually your print ready file, and you want to just go ahead and save this. You could go to File and then make sure you click Save As. And what I usually recommend is saving it as a .psb file, so a large document Photoshop file. And if it allows you to save it as a PDF, that's fine too. But usually when it starts getting this big, a .psb or a large document Photoshop file is going to be probably your best bet. So if you have any questions at all about this, I hope this helps. Make sure to like this video or leave a comment. And if you have any other questions, you feel free to ask and check the show notes below. Thanks a lot.